Okay, so this practice of the prostrations to the 35 Buddhas, which somebody's marked already in here, or I happen to get a copy that had it marked? Just luck. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So we have these, if we think about the different Buddhas made different aspirations when they were practicing on the path as bodhisattvas, and the 35 Buddhas of confession. So we have this, when we think about the practice of the 4 opponent powers, we have the practice of refuge or dependence on Buddha Dharma Sangha, and the other part of that dependence is on sentient beings. So that's the bodhicitta. So we say the refuge bodhicitta prayer. So that's that power of dependence on whom we rely on for the blessings of from the Buddha Dharma Sangha, but it's on dependence of other sentient beings that we become enlightened, in the sense that they're the ones who rub us off the wrong way, cause us all the sort of problems we have in life. No, our minds do that, but just saying. They're the ones that enable us to develop compassion. I mean, even they're complete strangers. So we think about the wars going on in the Gaza area, in Ukraine and surrounding countries. We can help it develop our compassion just by hearing about and wishing for those to be relieved. So that sort of power of dependency. And then we generate a mind of regret for any harm that we've done ever to any being, but of course calling to mind specific ones that are really, right there, sort of in our face right now, to put it bluntly, in our mind, to wish to purify. And so then we engage in a practice. So here, every month we do the Vajrasattva practice. It's also, as we know, one of the practices for discovering Buddhism. And also, so there can be many different ways of that practice, that remedy, that purification practice, of which another standard one is the Confession of Downfalls to the 35 Buddhas, which is also a commitment for discovering Buddhism. So good that we're familiar with that. Some of us may already be familiar, but to continue to familiarize ourselves. And there's a commentary by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, which, in relation to the vows that each of those 35 Buddhas made, the pledges they made to on the Bodhisattva path, what each one is purifying. And so, it'll be like 40,000 eons of this, and, that, and the other thing. The one that is said to be the really most powerful one. So if you look at it starts on page 42. So the last one on 45. To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. So that one is said to purify any negative karma in relationship to the spiritual friend, the guru, the lama, the teacher. Even any negative thought or disparaging, they say, may I not arise heresy for even a moment in the actions of the glorious guru. So when out those negativities of mind. And so that is the most powerful one. Why? To purify, because it's through the teachings of the Buddha, which have been made accessible through our teachers, that we are able to put into practice the teachings and progress along the path to enlightenment and continue to gain the teachings. So that one's said to be the most powerful. And as I said, Lama Zopa Rinpoche has given a commentary on absolutely each one. It doesn't give the history of each one. I love to read their story as a bodhisattva, their story, going back, but I haven't yet seen that. Right. So maybe one day. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, it's just I haven't seen it.
Or it might be translated into English.
Exactly, it may not be translated into English. So we have all, I was doing the 4 opponents. So that was the remedy. And then the power of restraint or making a pledge to not engage in those negative actions again for a realistic time frame. At least to weaken those, making that commitment. So the 4 opponent powers are all encompassed there in this practice. When we do Vajrasattva practice, the sadhana that we have, it also incorporates that. So it is that we need to do within the context of the 4 opponent powers to really make it actually have the power to purify. So we want to complete all of that. So, and then that's all incorporated in the confession prayers at the end. So we have these confession prayers. Actually, I think if we do this, we may not get much further. Let me just doing a memento.
So, excuse me.
Yes.
At what point of your practice would you incorporate?
Well, this is the thing. Okay, so there are different stories about when people have. One is that, like you get many stories from Tibet saying, that somebody was they'd be traveling around all day, but they never missed that commitment to do this practice in the evenings, right? Now, for myself, and actually when you go on retreats previously that were with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, but the FPMT retreats are generally, it's in the first session of the day, at the beginning of the day. Personally, I find that much easier because the body's, I don't know if it, just before I go to bed, if I've got there, I might go snoozing on the floor if I get down there. So yeah, so it can be, I think best in the morning to do in the morning. Of course, if one is physically able to do, it's a very good workout as well as a bonus. And having read, I remember reading in Mandala one time about Ken Rinpoche Geshe Tashi Tsering, who was 7.5 years or so at Chen Resig Institute, and now it's in Brisbane. And every morning his practice would be 350 prostrations. So 10 to each of the 35 Buddhas. So if we read in Pabongka Rinpoche, and it's, the recommendation is 25 to each of the Buddhas. And generally, like when we go on retreats, it's like 3 times through, so that at the end where it says 3 times. So you can do 1 time, you can do 2 times, you can do 3 times. But if you're also wanting to accumulate the accumulation for discovering Buddhism, you might want to up the ante a bit. Well, I think somebody at one time, one of the students worked out if I did 3 times, it would take me 20 years or something. Or something like that. So once you start, you want to maintain a continuity of that to accumulate the numbers. Geshe Sotram, I remember, wanted us to offer the Nyondro at the preliminary practices at Chen Resig Institute. Of course, we offered the one time the Vajrasattva retreat, 3 months. But to fulfill that commitment. But Geshe-la's real dream was to do the prostrations first. Hasn't happened. I can remember at least once at Tashita, from memory, they had the 3-month prostration retreat. So it doesn't happen very often in a retreat setting. And in any case, so traditionally these practices would be done how it was traditionally, 100,000 Vajrasattva, 100,000 prostrations, 100,000 mandala offerings, 100,000 water bowl offerings, and so forth, as a year of purification in preparation for those who'd taken a highest yoga tantra retreat, and what we call a deity, or a tantric retreat, a deity retreat. Okay. And so that's why they're called preliminary practices. But here we're not talking about in that context. Here we're talking about, let's set a daily practice. And so the practice of the prostrations, and then the bonus is recording your numbers. Maybe we'll have some days next year. We could have day prostrations. Of course, we have Nyungne, which is another commitment. There's a lot of prostrating goes on with that. So first of all, just to allay any fears about prostration. So yes, if our body can comfortably go and do the full prostration, that's fantastic. We have the sometimes called half, or it's called the 5-point prostration, which is what I did at the beginning here. The two, hands, knees, head. So 5 points, touch the ground. And then could be standing and just doing the prostration mudras. Can be sitting, doing the prostration mudras. Because I think as long as people have arms, they can do that. But if we have either age is caught up with us, the body isn't what it used to be, some of us might relate to that, or, you have a limited limb movement, then of course we don't try and do things we can't do, because the most important thing is what's happening in our mind. Okay. So, of course, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, that also when we're doing these, to also say the names of the Buddhas, because there are recordings of that. I think at Kopan was using a recording. Yeah, is it still the old guy who was 70 years old? And oh, okay, new one. So what they did was, oh no, he didn't do it. Somebody else's voice, but it was to the rhythm of his prostrations. 70 years old. So I don't know if you caught up with him. So everyone's just done quite a few prostrations, I imagine. Early in the morning, right? Well, when I was there, I didn't have a choice because I was leading the prostrations. Yeah, it got me up in the morning. Susan, is that her hand?
You said just for what's going on in your mind.
Yes. Yeah.
What should be there?
Okay, we'll go through that now, shall we?
Oh,
because there's a visualization for that. Of course, yeah. This is what should be going on in our mind. And I find, especially visualizations, engaging the mind, so you haven't got time for other stuff to be happening at the same time. And if you're trying to say the names as well and trying to memorize them, so the object is to memorize them. What I like about how it's presented here as opposed to some of the other more recent editions of these prayers is that it's got the pictures of the Buddhas. So if you want to turn to page 40, this has the visualization. So this visualizations with, I don't know why I'm looking around, looking for something that we don't have here. It's the beautiful big tanka of the.
Behind the train statue, there's like a Bible or something.
Yes.
There's another.
Yeah. So that one I find a bit tricky.
Yeah, I like them sitting in deep rows myself.
Yes, we all like sitting in deep rows. The tanka at Kopan is beautiful, big tanka with big Buddha images. And so this visualization as described here is having them in rows, okay? So it says, to visualize in the space in front of you, your guru in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha. So we're visualizing Shakyamuni Buddha in the space in front. Actually, we're looking. And then if you have a guru, or if you have a guru in this life or gurus, you can do all into one in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha. So we can also, as we looked at previously with the merit field, we can just think all into one of Shakyamuni Buddha. So that in front with 1,000-armed Chenrezig, so Chenrezig here at his heart. So that's the first thing we visualize. And at the heart of 1,000-armed Chenrezig is the syllable Shri. So the Shri syllable is the seed syllable, as it says, of Chenrezig. So if you don't know what that looks like, it's fine to just visualize it like this, Shri. And from this, so we've got Shakyamuni Buddha, Chenrezig, and Shri. So far, so good. Good, because it gets more complicated. And then it gets more complicated. And from this beam of light emanates, forming 6 rows in the space below. So the light comes down, forms the rows. At the end of each beam is a throne supported by elephants and adorned with pearls. So each of one of these Buddhas, we visualize on a throne supported by elephants and adorned with pearls. And that all in the nature of light, radiating brilliant light. On each throne is seated a Buddha. So in the first row, there are 6 Buddhas, because you've got Shakyamuni Buddha plus 6 makes 7. Because every other row is 7. So just, yeah. So Shakyamuni Buddha, and then 6 Buddhas beneath, blue in color, in the aspect of Akshobhya. So Akshobhya or Matrukpa, you might know as. So if you look there, so Matrukpa's got the left hand here holding a Vajra, and then the right over the knee. You can't quite see it. Enough deep. Oh, that's Shakyamuni. No, that's actually, yeah. And then, okay, so except for the third Buddha, King Lord of the Nagas, who has a blue coloured body but a white head. Then, okay, so that's Shakyamuni Buddha, first row, blue, except 1, 2, 3. That one's got a white head. In the second row, there are 7 Buddhas, white in colour, in the aspect of Varachana. So Varachana here, so sometimes Varachana, when we go through the 7-point posture for meditation, we talk about Varachana with the hands like this. And here Varachana is in a teaching mudra. The hands like this. In the third row are 7 Buddhas, yellow in colour, in the aspect of Ratnasambhava. there. In the fourth row are 7 Buddhas, red in color in the aspect of Amitabha. So Amitabha, the lotus family. So we have Amitabha above Tara, we have Amitabha above Chenrezig here, Amitabha above here, Guru Rinpoche, lotus born. Okay. And is sitting with the hands together here, holding a vase. No, so no, I'm sorry, Amatias holds a vase. So like this. Infinite light. So Amatias is infinite life, and Amitabha is infinite light. So Amitabha, we say that, you know, there's a whole tradition of praying to Amitabha to be reborn in Amitabha's pure land, because Amitabha had made that commitment on the path that anybody who prays to me, recites my mantra, will be placed in the pure land. Even you haven't completed realisations or anything, like just us ordinary folks can be reborn there. Oh, well, speaking for myself as an ordinary person, so to speak, Amitabha in the West. So, right. And so we think about that, and sometimes people want to face towards Amitabha when they, you know, remember, you know, caring for someone at the end of their life, and they wanted to make sure they were, and they had a picture of the Sukhavati Pure Land there, and want to face Amitabha at the time of, and I'm going this way because we generally on our right, just like when the Buddha passed into parinirvana, lying down, stretched out with the ring finger on your right, in your, not in your right nostril, resting against your right nostril, so that the air is coming in and out the left, and lying down with the left arm long along your legs, so that it's a good way to go to sleep. Not that you're wanting to die right then, but it's a very, you know, the effect it has on the channels, particularly on blocking negative energy. So yeah. All right. So Amitabha, and then Amoghasiddhi. I jumped ahead. I think I've jumped ahead. Ratnasambhava, Amitabha. 5th row are 7 Buddhas, green in colour in the aspect of Amoghasiddhi. So they're the 35 confession Buddhas, each in the posture of that particular Dhyani Buddha. So when we say Dhyani Buddha, there's those who, you know, there's a preference by some to, instead of saying Dhyani, saying wisdom Buddha. So they're the 5 Buddha, when we refer to 5 Buddha families, they're the 5 Buddha families. So we can see each of those represents the different elements, because we can think, you know, when we've got the prayer flags, we've got the 5 different colours. So there's a whole lot of interconnections there. And we can go through an elaborate study of those 5 Buddhas and what they all represent and the wisdoms they represent. So that's why they're called wisdom Buddhas, because they have particular wisdoms associated with each of the Buddhas. Okay.
They have a colour as the medicine.
Oh, we're coming to that.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Don't be sorry. Jumping ahead. So yes, actually, if you get me the silver.
Just you?
No, just me, it'll be fine.
Oh, that's on.
So in the final row are the medicine Buddhas. So when we do medicine Buddha practice, which is, we go through each one of the Buddhas, I don't know off by heart, in sequence their colours. So that's why I need to refer to this.
Gold, yellow, gold, and then there's red and a cold colour.
Very good.
Well, it may or may not be correct, but
Very good. Of course, the main one is either lapis lazuli or sapphire light. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche has translated it as sapphire light. Then it was lapis lazuli. Now it's back to sapphire light, because Rinpoche was wanting to get my understanding, at least, of the preciousness of that colour, and get the right colour. So there's all this attention to detail. But when we see, like, where is our medicine Buddha?
Next to.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
So that's, to my mind, the lapis colour. So a healing colour. So the medicine Buddha, that's why it's medicine Buddha. It's a healing Buddha. That we engage in the medicine Buddha practice for. Generally, like when we do medicine Buddha puja, we go through the extensive list of those we're praying for who've passed away in the last 49 days, for those who are ill, and also who also not, for sentient beings, yes, but also it's also for success in projects. So any particular projects you've got. Okay, so just going through here, the individual medicine Buddhas. Number 1.
It's gold, I think.
Gold, correct.
Oh,
She's going to get a lot of gold stars here.
maybe not. I'm going to just step into the library and see if I can find.
You don't have to find anything, sit down.
No, but there's a really, if I could find the right text, there's a picture and it's got all the colours in rows.
Joy of compassion. So we have it out there. We can get a copy for everyone. So there should be enough copies. Second one?
Yellow. Is it gold? Yellow?
Correct. Third one?
Gold.
Gold. Correct. Number 4?
Is that red or is it
Correct.
gold? I have done this non-direct.
Number 5?
Is that the coral coloured one?
Pink.
What is it called?
Next. Do you want me to say the Buddha's name?
No, I don't think it will help. I don't have that in my mind stream just at the moment.
What did you say just before?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, so it's red, pink, coral.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, she's good. And we know the main one. Gold stars all round. So they're the different colours. If you want to check, Venerable Pecos, you'll go to.
It wasn't easy for me, and so I did a bit of work, as you can tell.
All right, so if you want to go and get those books now, I'm pretty sure it's in Joy of Compassion. Check, but I'm pretty sure it's in there. It's only a small image because it's in the book. So it's no bigger than the book. Okay, so we visualize all of those. And then it says, think that each one of these Buddhas is the embodiment of all the 3 times 10 directions Buddhas. So 10 directions, the cardinal directions, intermediate and up and down. So we think about them being all 3D surrounding, not just in front, not just flat like in the pictures. And imagine that you emanate, jumping ahead. They embody all the holy objects whose essence is the Guru. Have complete faith each one has the power to purify all negative karmas and imprints accumulated since beginning's time. And when we refer to that commentary and it's purifying, 40,000 of this, 100,000 of that, and I think we're pretty well covered. So it's a confidence we have to have. And then imagine that you emanate numberless bodies and that as you prostrate, all these bodies prostrate along with you from all directions, covering every atom of earth. And so they say, we want to cover as much ground as possible. So when we say every atom of earth, we're thinking from here down to, I'm not quite sure what the other side of our earth is to us. we had one of those globes, we could have one of those globes and visualize what's, but we don't want to be like at the bottom and just that little bit. It has to be the big bit. So we're trying to visualize as many as possible, and then thinking that as we rise up, we're bringing them up, you know, into higher realms. We're bringing up to enlightenment. And there's, as we prostrate, there's many instructions about prostration. Pamonka Rinpoche's Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand is very good, the instructions. So part of the instruction is that we keep our fingers together when we prostrate, whether we're doing short or, you know, whether we're doing short or long full prostrations, that we don't, I haven't seen people do like this, but that you don't do like that. I say I haven't seen like that, but Lama Zopa Rinpoche, last time at Chenrezig Institute, in the Joy of Compassion, that's from the, isn't it? It's in one of the others.
I did check a few.
This is the commentary, so it's wonderful commentary.
But that's from the bookshop. There's only one.
So this also has offering dakini, so offering sense objects. And pass it around, people can look. What was I saying just before that? Lama Zopa, and the hand like this, because Rinpoche made a joke, he's sort of like, because post-stroke, Rinpoche's hand wasn't quite open. And he says, oh, I'm creating the cause to have hooves in future life. So they're all like, you'll create the cause to have webbed feet, you'll create the cause to have hooves. It's, I think, be just very mindful in the practice. Right? And that when we go down, if you're doing long prostrations, that we don't dwell too long down, because you might end up going down to the lower realms. You know, it's the idea of we want to come quickly up. So there's many instructions like that. From a practical point of view, the main thing is that if you're doing long prostrations, is that your hands are directly under your shoulders. That's one thing when you go down, particularly if you're doing a lot of prostrations, so they're not out to the side or this, because you're going to wreck your shoulders or your wrists or both if you do a lot and you're not, so that your body's in alignment properly. Any other tips people want to add?
You're supposed to come all the way up, aren't you?
Yes, every
Not
time you
put
go
it
down.
up.
Yeah. So sometimes, you know, people will stay down even when you're doing like standing ones. So that creates the cause to be a humped animal, like a camel. Mindfulness. So we come up each time. So then, are people familiar with the mudra? That we, anyone not familiar? Like go through? Go through. Okay, so it's like we have our hands, so our hands aren't flat like this. Your hands are, and it's interesting, I see in some traditions of Buddhism, and I see that flat like that. And then I think, like, anyway, for our practice, that it's, you know, everything's a dependent arising, of course, but having the understanding for our practice, it's not judging anybody else's practice. That we're offering a jewel. So we've got these, the thumbs inside, and sometimes people say it's like a lotus bud inside the lotus. That's another way people talk about it. But Lama Zopa Rinpoche says we're offering a jewel to all the, you know, all the holy objects. So you can come in here and, you know, do like that. A couple of my friends do that every time they go into a comp. We just sort of walk around going like that. But, you know, just thinking we're making an offering, and you place that at, first of all, at your crown, and you can think that it was creating the causes. So we can think when we're going through these, that we're, let's say, purifying the ordinary body, and creating the causes for a pure body of a Buddha. So here we can think about creating the causes for the Ujnisha, the crown protrusion, and then bring to our brow. Generally, when we are engaging in practice, this represents the body. So we can think purifying our ordinary body and creating the cause to have a pure, side on, pure body of a Buddha with all the marks and signs. And then to the throat, and think that this is the speech, of course, that we're purifying our ordinary speech and creating the pure eloquent causes for the pure eloquent speech of a Buddha, always melodious, Dharma. And then at the heart chakra is purifying ordinary mind and creating the causes for the holy mind of the Buddha, or the realisations of the Buddha. A simple way, I haven't seen it in a text, but I find it very handy. I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I find that really, really, I like simple. I sort of do things very simple. I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. Okay, so what else do I want to say about prostrating? And we're covering as many atoms and then coming up. Any other questions about prostrating? Anybody who can do a long prostration, who can demo to everyone else? I should be able to do, actually.
Oh, I could have a go.
Okay.
I could certainly do a demo at half.
If you come here so that you're going long ways that way, well, I know isn't the normal way, but so that people can get a profile image.
You can set your prostrating to Tara.
Prostrate to all the Taras over there. We had a Tara, wonderful Tara day yesterday.
No.
No.
You're not meant to.
No, come back to where you were. No, no, no. Just with your hands down. Right. So you don't have to do this, but it's an added thing. I'm just stopping you because it's an added thing that you could put your head down here and pop it back up. You don't have to do that with a long prostration. But Lama Zopa says, then you're making 2 in 1. Up to you. So it's just an added extra. Okay, now continue. You were correct. Okay, so yeah, so he does both ways. So hold your hands there. So with the hands there like that, you can visualize that you've got your hands at the throne, at the base of the throne of the Guru, inseparable from the Buddha. So you're, prostrating at the base of the throne. And then Ollie put his hands above his head, because that's like 2 prostrations in one too. So people also can do like that you're offering prostration mudra. Okay. And then coming up, placing your hands nicely underneath your shoulders in the right, yeah. And then tucking his feet, toes under, and pushing back up so you don't wreck your back. Perfect.
So you don't get up with one knee down, one knee out. Or,
Well, if your body can only do it that way, that's fine, but carefully. Yeah. And so the other way is just to do the half one, please. Okay. Again, tucking the toes under. Thank you. Yeah, when you're coming back up.
All right.
Do you want to do that again? Can you see his toes?
Someone
We'll watch this stuff. Yeah, I was watching this again.
Stretch your feet out, because you stretch your feet out and then you tuck them back up. You just do it naturally. I'm just making you do it slow mo. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
And make sure you protect your knees, and if
Yes.
you've got core stability muscles, use those.
Can I ask one question? Do we have to do it normal to slide the hands doing the long pressure?
I can recommend not on carpet to slide your hands.
Yeah.
You will get carpet burn. But what sometimes people wear mitts if you're doing a lot of prostrations, like if you go to somewhere like Bodh where everyone grabs their prostration board, and you can get prostrations board without going to Bodh. It's just that the power of that place like,
People
it's so,
use lino as well, like an offcut of lino.
yes, yeah, actually lino is probably more practical than a prostration board because you can roll it up and take it around, and or you can prostrate in the kitchen, put a image somewhere.
So is that okay to have
Yes,
something as such? Because it's
absolutely, it's fine to do that. Yeah, if you find that, I mean, other people put padding on their knees.
Skateboard pads or something.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want it too bulky because it'd be awkward prostrating. Because if you're able to go long, you want to have as much as your body stretched, in contact with the ground as you can, without causing yourself an injury. And that's why, as Ollie demonstrated, the feet go long. And so that yeah.
tip that I had very early on, and it's not sure thought about it. Some people may have a tendency to put their knees down first.
Yes, no, hands first, hands first. I see a lot of people do that, and it's just like, ouch, I just think some knee surgeon's going to love you. And that's the thing about protecting our knees. So that even like when you're younger and you think, well, my knees are fine, have like one of these mats, or sometimes people have a towel, but it doesn't provide padding.
The little
But-
garden kneeling mats.
Yeah.
would be handy.
Yeah, just like, or one of these is fine because it does protect your knees a bit. We had with the retreats in Bendigo, I remember when we were in the first retreat, and the second 2 weeks we were in a Tisha Gompa, which is quite small. So there's no way these few hundred people were going to be prostrating in the Gompa. So people were prostrating outside on the gravel.
Oh.
And, I didn't check up how their knees were a few years later, but we get, it's, of course you can do that. I mean, you see this whole tradition. I remember if you see Mystic Tibet, they were on the road prostrating. So you see that happening, but while we can, please protect your knees.
Another tip I got when I was much younger, lads, is if you want to do this, do it first or while you're not getting any older.
Yeah, it's too late to say do it when you're young, right?
But
and it's interesting because when I was at Root Institute one time, there was a student from Australia, and she had gone. Oh, well, Rinpoche was teaching, but then after that, she was staying to do the Nyongdro of it, and so she said, Rinpoche told me to do this when I was 19, right? And fortunately, she was only 24, and all her body was still in a good condition. But it was like, there's probably a reason why Rinpoche says it when you're younger.
yeah, but if you are wanting to do the different Nyongdros, just have a think and think, oh, maybe I'll do the one that is the most physical first.
Yeah, but as I said, it's not to create any physical harm to yourself. It's not to force yourself to do things that your body doesn't want to do or is unable to do. There's no point in that because the object is never pain. We want to be able to visualize as much as possible. We want to be able to use it, coming back to your question, to be able to do the visualization without thinking about, ouch, this hurts, that hurts, and everything else hurts. That's not the point. So in that case, I would also recommend maybe, build the practice up slowly, particularly if you're not used to prostrating. Of course, if you've already got established process, practice of it, just up the ante. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can visualize, but as I said, you can always, well, maybe not always, you might have broken a clavicle or something, but this is a prostration. So your hands here is a prostration, right? So either hand here like that's a prostration. That's, yeah. So even I can have the jewel still there. Offering.
You talked about offering the jewel and putting your hands in a particular shape, prostrate, and then you talked about prostration mudra. Is that?
That's the prostration
that
mudra.
is the same.
Yeah, mudra is sort of like the hand gesture. Literally, that's what it means. So, and then, so when we prostrate, say I'm doing just one prostration, or prostrate with body, speech, mind. No, it doesn't work with one. Anyway, it's in this practice, so that you go, once you go down, when you come up, the end of it is to do that. If I'm just doing one prostration, then I'll still do this at the end. Yeah. Okay. We want to give it a go. Why not? I'll take us through one, so I'm mindful of how much time we have here. Oh, I can stay sitting.
I'll stand and recite.
No, I'm going to stay sitting and recite. Okay. Well, I'll do the reciting for now. Of course, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, then you don't get the benefit of the prostrating with your speech. But if you know it, you will. I'm not going to go through the multiplying mantras. There are multiplying mantras here, which is recommended that we do at the beginning of the practice to maximize the practice. Multiplies everything 100,000 times, so forth. So they're ones that, well, the first one I can do because we're familiar with this one. And I won't do the others because you'll be hearing for the first time. So the first one. Om Namo Manju Shriye Nama Su Shriye Nama Uttama Shriye Soham. Om Namo Manju Shriye Nama Su Shriye Nama Uttama Shriye Soham. Om Namo Manju Shriye Nama Su Shriye Nama Uttama Shriye Soham. So I'm going to continue reciting and just you have your own comfortable pace. Don't feel like, oh, I've got to do one every time she says a different Buddha's name, because you won't keep up. So if you simply prostrate at find your own rhythm, and I'll do the recitation, except for this first one, homage to the confession of the Bodhisattva's downfall. It says I, and then you say your name, right? Okay. Homage to the confession of the Bodhisattva's downfall. I, throughout all times, take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. To the founder, Bhagavan Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni Buddha, I prostrate. To Tathagata, thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence, I prostrate. To Tathagata, radiant jewel, I prostrate. To Tathagata, King Lord of the Nagas, I prostrate. To Tathagata, army of heroes, I prostrate. To Tathagata, delighted hero, I prostrate. To Tathagata, jewel fire, I prostrate. To Tathagata, jewel moonlight, I prostrate. To Tathagata, meaningful to see, I prostrate. To Tathagata, jewel moon, I prostrate. To Tathagata, stainless one, I prostrate. To Tathagata, bestowed with courage, I prostrate. To Tathagata, pure one, I prostrate. To Tathagata, bestowed with purity, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, water god, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, deity of the water god, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious goodness, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious sandalwood, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, infinite splendor, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious light, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, sorrowless glory, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, son of non-craving, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious flower, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, pure light rays, clearly knowing by play, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, lotus light rays, clearly knowing by play, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious wealth, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious mindfulness, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious name, widely renowned, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, king holding the victory banner of foremost power, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious one, totally subduing, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, utterly victorious in battle, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious transcendence through subduing, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, glorious manifestations illuminating all, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, all subduing, jewel lotus, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. To the Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. So then the medicine Buddhas. To Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, renowned, glorious King of excellent signs, I prostrate. To Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Sound, King of Radiance of Skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate. To Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, stainless, excellent gold, illuminating jewel, who accomplishes all conduct, I prostrate. To the Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, glorious supreme one, free from sorrow, I prostrate. To Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, melodious ocean of reclaimed Dharma, I prostrate. To Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, clearly knowing by the play of supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate. To the Bhagawan, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, medicine guru, king of lapis lazuli light, I prostrate. Okay, that's the end of that. There is a practice too of adding in a Vajrasattva practice to that so that you can incorporate prostrations with Vajrasattva. We won't do that right now. So that I find also very useful because we feel it's like Vajrasattva is in front and you have the white, red, blue light coming through, purifying. You feel like you're being purified by Vajrasattva as you go down. So if, say, you're doing the Vajrasattva Nyandra, you're doing Vajrasattva practice, but if we were having a Vajrasattva retreat, we might do that in one session, particularly in the afternoons where it gets a bit sluggish. I'm doing it with prostrations, and the visualization is very powerful because you really feel that purification happening at the same time. So how was that? Any questions about prostrating?
So at home, would you do that listening to an audio recording?
Okay, so that's a good question. So you can sit down if you like, unless we keep prostrating while I'm talking, go for it. You can. So yes, you could listen. Personally, when I was learning it, I never listened to a recording. I did have the text, but I blew it up really big because once I take my glasses off, I'm hopeless. Oh well, it's in them, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so you can see basically, and I found the spot to put it up, and then I just, who's next? Okay, yeah. Who's next? Okay, and then, but also separately setting aside, to learn, to learn them. Yeah. So there, I just recited them once through, except for, so even you're only reciting once through. The last one, the one I said, Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, King of the Lord of Mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus I prostrate. You don't have to, but we have a practice of doing that one 3 times because it's the most powerful one. But if you're going through 3 times, you don't do extra on that one, if you get my point. So going through, say, 3 times, it's a sort of, let's say that might be your minimum. And that if you're going through 3 times, then you can say, I've done 100 prostrations today, right? Confidently. So there's 2 ways of doing. One is that you recite the names through individually, like we just did 3 times through. The other way is that you say each one 3 times. So I go, Founder Bhagavanta Tathagata Arhat, perfectly complete Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni Buddha, I prostrate. To the founder Bhagavanta Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni Buddha, I prostrate. To the founder Bhagavanta Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni Buddha, I prostrate. To the Tathagata thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence, I prostrate. To the Tathagata thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence, I prostrate. To the Tathagata thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence, I prostrate. Continue on like that. And that way is more helpful for learning the names, particularly the shorter names, because even you're looking at what comes next. The shorter ones, you can keep it in your mind, and not just 3 times. As long as you're prostrating, say, the time it takes to do a prostration, you repeat as many as those times. And then, gradually they start to stick in your mind. You can also go through and, it talks about the different rows and the different Buddhas. So you can count them through. I found this really helpful to just put the name of the Buddha in my practice so that, okay, Shakyamuni Buddha is on his own. And then the next 6 are Varachana. So, and then putting, okay, I'm prostrating to that row, I'm prostrating to that row. So there's many different ways that you can go about enhancing your understanding and your practice. But slowly, there's a lot of different bits in there. There's also the motivation that comes before the practice at the very beginning on page 39. I'll just read through that because, I'll probably read through it and stop and start. The purpose of my life is to free numberless sentient beings who are the source of all my past, present, and future happiness. So we start the practice from the motivation. So we can do this in standing. Okay. Ready to go. As well as temporary as well as ultimate happiness, including all the realizations of the path, liberation from samsara and enlightenment from all the oceans of samsaric suffering, including the causes, delusion and karma. In order to do this, I must achieve full enlightenment. Therefore, I need to actualize the path. Therefore, I need to purify the defilements. So it's a sort of logical sequence. If I were now born in hell, it would be so unbearable. Even one tiny fire spark on my body is hundreds of thousand times hotter than the whole entire fire energy in this world. So it's quite graphic, but just, of course, that'll come along in the next module about the sufferings of the hell realms. It's so unbearable. Experiencing it for even an instant is like suffering for many eons. I have created numberless causes to be born in the hell realms by creating the 10 non-virtuous actions countless times in this and beginningless past lives. I have created numberless causes to be born in the hell realms by breaking the prana-moksha vows. So when we take refuge and we take the vows of individual liberation, that's the prana-moksha vows, by breaking bodhisattva vows, if we've taken them, by breaking tantric vows countless times in this and beginningless past lives. So even I haven't taken in this life, countless past lives, right? And I have created numberless causes to be born in the hells by creating the heaviest negative karma in relationship to the virtuous friend, which includes harming the holy body, breaking the advice, disturbing the holy mind, having non-devotional thoughts, and rising heresy and anger, which produce the greatest obstacles to achieve realizations and create the greatest suffering. So in some general way, we're calling to mind that, we have negative imprints on our mental continuum from things that we're not even aware we've done in the past. And then this is the whole teaching on karma. Every single one of these negative actions has 4 suffering results: the ripening result, a rebirth in lower realms; possessed result, the type of environment I'm born into when again a human; the result similar to the cause in my experience; and the worst one, the result is similar to the cause in my actions, which means that again and again, I'm driven to create the same negative actions in the future. And so again and again, I have to experience the 4 suffering results. In this way, samsara has no end. So that whole is like a revision of the whole of the karma teachings. So I just find by doing that, it's familiarizing my mind with that. At the beginning, it's like there's a whole bunch of words, and then different ones jump out and have meaning, and so you can just focus on that. Like the tiny fire spark on the body is quite a profound graphic image. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just thinking, with this practice,
Mm.
so you are reading, you're standing and
Yes.
reading this out.
Yeah. Yes.
Before you do, you're going through this.
Yes.
This is the practice.
Yes. You're reading that out. The visualization, which we read out before, you don't need to read out. You could read through just so that, and you just say, good enough. I've read through, I haven't got perfect, but it's there.
Yeah.
And just accept it's there. The Buddhas are there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's a good point. Please ask.
If you already doing meditation every day, would you still do?
So yeah, in general, and particularly for discovering Buddhism, that Rinpoche has made that requirement. But anyway, as a daily practice, where you might say do conventionally prostrations in the morning, Vajrasattva at night, and so you're topping and tailing with a powerful purification practice. You can do throughout the day. I mean, you can be like Lama Zopa, and every time a negative thought arises, get off your horse, metaphorically, place your stupa, metaphorically, and do Vajrasattva practice anytime. You can pepper the day with it. Bit more awkward to pepper the day with prostrations when you're, and coming back to the visualization, that we can just visualize, because one story was Lama Zopa Rinpoche was somebody had contacted Rinpoche and they were doing the Nyondro, the Vajrasattva, the prostrations Nyondro. So depending on who you ask, you don't have to do it, as we say, on the one seat. That's when you do like a preparatory retreat, a 3-month retreat or whatever. You do it on the one place, and there's a whole ritual around that. And particularly for discovering Buddhism, that's not required. That the continuity is what's required. However, the continuity is 3 prostrations. So even you don't get through 1 round in a day, don't freak out. However, if you want an accumulation, do freak out. So coming back to, oh yes, the visualization. So this guy was catching a plane, and it was a long haul flight. He was going to be crossing the international date line. So it went from one day to the next. He wanted to maintain the continuity of his practice and not miss a day. And so he wrote to Rinpoche, and Rinpoche, because, in a plane, they're not going to let you, well, you're not allowed to lie down in the aisles, and you certainly can't do it in the toilet. It's way too small. And by the way, they watch how long you're in there in case, you're up to some shady business. Yeah, apparently,
It does happen.
the bomb, let's not even say the word. So this guy, and Rinpoche said, sure, just visualize it. And he was writing about it because it was said it was so much harder to just visualize doing the prostration. But if we think about it, that's the most powerful part, isn't it? The visualization, because what's transforming is our mind, isn't it? That's what we're transforming.
You have to visualize, and you have to think a lot more than you before you just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was at the airport and visualizing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's good to learn things off by heart too, because you can still, in your mind at least, recite them without, when you find yourself in those situations where you can't rely on text. Susan.
And you are visualizing the whole, all these Buddhas doing the prostrations.
No, they're there and we're prostrating to them. Yes, they're there in our, visualization in front. We sort of like park them there, and probably then we're focusing on our body and what's their name and, other things. But just accept that once we've established that visualization, it's there. Of course, if we can hold it there in our mind the whole time, wow, way to go. But, just like, it's there now. They're there to hear my confession, basically, is what we're saying. Yeah.
I didn't read anything about the light purification, like with Vajrasattva, you get that light.
Yes.
Is that usual to do that with this?
Yes. So you've got, with of course, the visualization talks about the light going down and forming the thrones.
Yes.
And we think of them all in the nature of light. And yes, then we
And
can
there's
think
light.
that light streaming through to us. I think it's more explicit here in the dissolution at the end. So if we go, I'm not sure if this has got the full dissolution in this one. No, this doesn't have the full dissolution. So in the retreat book, it has that. So you've got all those Buddhas in front. Or here, 54, it does say, by the power of generating regret and the other opponent forces, and through the power of having made these prostrations, nectars and light rays descend from the holy bodies of the Buddhas, completely purifying all the negative karmas, defilements, and imprints collected on your mental continuum since beginningless time. Generate strong faith. Your mind has become completely pure. So you can hold that. Before you get to that point, I've got another point about that. This general confession. So if we know it off, so you've got the two confession prayers. So so we've got on page 49. So this is so this confession prayer, generally, if once you know it off by heart, people keep prostrating through that one. Not everybody does that. Often people sit down and recite it, but the conventional thing is to keep prostrating through that one. And then for the next one, the general confession, oh who live or woe is me, means the same thing. There's a section on page 51, how to meditate, which is basically generate strong regret and think that, reflect on the emptiness of each of the negative actions. So when we have time, and maybe if we have a prostration morning or afternoon or session here, we can do this. So on page 53, where it says, "O great Guru Vajradhara, all other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who abide in the 10 directions, all the Venerable Sangha, please pay attention to me, I who am named," blah, blah. And then we say, okay, circling in cyclic existence since beginningless time until the present, overpowered by mental afflictions such as attachment, aversion, and ignorance by means of body, speech, and mind, have created the 10 non-virtuous actions. So we could pause there and generate regret for any time I've engaged in the 10 non-virtuous actions, body, speech, and mind. And then we think, myself, the action, the object are empty of inherent existence. In other words, they're not fixed, it's all a dependent arising. Because otherwise we're going to be having this whip out to ourselves for all the terrible things we've done wrong. Mea culpa. I learned that one in another tradition. Now put the whip away. So, in other words, because of emptiness, everything's possible, which means this purification can happen. And so dissolving into emptiness, we can think we're being purified. And so I have transgressed the vows of individual liberation, the vows of bodhisattvas, and transgressed the samaya of secret mantra, which is tantric vows. So we can pause there. Any vows, I even extend it to like any promises, pledges I've made to anybody. You know, it's not just the vows in a way. Vows are promises or pledges. I have been disrespectful to my parents, to my Vajra masters, to my abbot. I've been disrespectful to my spiritual friends living in ordination, monks, nuns. We could pause there and think if there's something in our mind, oh yes, I did do that thing. We can think about purifying it there and then think the action, the object, in other words, the person it was directed to and myself are empty of existing from their own side, truly, inherently. They are a dependent arising. I have committed actions harmful to the three jewels, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, avoided the holy Dharma, criticized the Arya Sangha, so we could stop there. So we can pause where we want, when we have the time, to really contemplate that. Have I done any of those things? Because then we go, oh, that's on my mind. If you haven't done work, we can just say yes in previous past lives. And when you get familiar with that thing of, you know, pausing to recall and then thinking they're empty of inherent existence, you can get down to a point where you're just going, regret, empty, regret, empty, regret, empty. But to the beginning, I think it's quite nice to dwell with those and really, it brings it more alive when you have time to do that. If you're thinking, now I have to get up an hour earlier before I go to work or I have a 5-hour day. Yeah, because you can, I mean, and that's the beauty of also memorizing these is that you end up, you can do them quite quickly, like anything that we learn. Like the Vajrasattva mantra, 100-syllable mantra. And it's like, well, am I ever going to remember that? And then it gets easier, easier, easier by repetition. Yep. Okay, so that's the general confession prayer. I just wanted to mention that. It goes on. So with this visualization, as I said, this is not the elaborate one. So we've got all these rows that we had at the beginning. So there's a visualization that says, okay, the medicine Buddhas dissolve into light and then dissolve up into the Buddha's green in color, right? So we can just track back, you know, from page 41. And then they dissolve into light and dissolve up into the Buddha's red in color, and they dissolve into Buddha's yellow in color, and then they dissolve into the Buddha's white in color, and then they dissolve into Shakyamuni Buddha, who dissolves into light and dissolves into me. Or actually, so you could have dissolve into Chenrezig at the heart and dissolves into me. So we can elaborate that visualization. It's, as I said, in the retreat prayer book, it's got that more elaborate one. I don't know the up-to-date version of this. Does that have it? No, the up-to-date version, you know, the common prayers one, the most recent one.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I know it's in the retreat one. Okay. Okay, so I think we've covered prostrations in a very summary form because there's so much more. I've been, you know, fortunate to have had the commentary a few times on this practice, including the first confession prayer, that one, but not the general confession prayer. Having requested, but haven't got that one yet. Yeah. And then if you find yourself going to a Lamrim retreat, say, where that practice will be done, then you'll also be able to, it's really a wonderful thing to do with others. Having had the opportunity to do it with many elders, or you would have found, well, just how many of you were there? 280? it's a powerful energy, isn't it? Everybody engaging in the same practice together. So as Lama Zopa says, anytime we can do practice together, do it together, because the synergy of that is much greater than doing ourselves on our own, particularly at the beginning. Okay.
There's only one of these in the shop. It is available electronically.
Yeah.
And there's also, I think, available Sarah Fresher. You can get the audio.
Recording, yeah, going through it. So yes, you can get the recording. And for example, when we, oh, not generally for that one, when we do Nyungnes, there's the Po praise at the end. There's the one at the end that's like, yeah, 21 times you do. You think you're just getting to the end of the session.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
And it takes 21 minutes minimum, because if you're with a recording, I went away one time and was doing my personal Nyungnes, and I forgot to take it with me. So it took longer, because it was like, then you're really motivated to learn it off by heart and quickly.
And when I did Nyungnes, I needed to do to finish up the requirements with Discovery Books, and Venerable Chökyi very kindly did the plays for me, so I could record it. To do the
Oh, I forgot I did that. That's handy. Yeah. Okay. So actually, yes.
I'm a little bit troubled.
Go for it.
So in terms of doing the prostration, so my mind is wondering, am I engaging in a process here that has an effect on
Yes.
me? And is it really important to hold this visualization, because that actually is part of the process? Or is it the fact that I'm just engaged in something, or I'm not engaged in something else? Like, if I'm engaged in doing this, my mind isn't somewhere else.
It's yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's both. It's both, because when we say hold the visualization, is that, as I was saying, we can, if we're really familiar with the visualization, we can totally absorb ourselves in that. But realistically, I have to say, we've got that visualization, we've got each of the Buddhas, we're trying to remember them, we're reciting their names, we're prostrating, making sure we don't hurt ourselves. And so there's a lot going on simultaneously. Yeah. So it's much, if we visualize and it's there, we are in the presence of those Buddhas, right? And when we establish the visualization, we might want to take a bit longer to feel that. Another easier way would be to have a tanka of that, so that every time you come up, you see it there in front of you. So that's another way to do that image, to have in front of you.
Yeah, and I think I did have this image, and I found another one.
I think I may still have some A4 ones. I may have given them all away. I did have A4 size of that.
So you're getting an imprint.
You're getting an imprint. And then the more you find that the more you engage in the practice and are reciting their names, and they start to have more meaning for you, right? It's sort of, we familiarize not just with, oh, I'm saying the right words and doing the right things, but it starts to absorb into your mind. The visualization starts to absorb, it all starts, and your association with doing the practice. So that's why we make it joyful, not painful. And so to really take time to build it up. All those things won't come together all at once. They won't. There's a lot to get used to, but it's good enough. Whatever we have is good enough. It's not like I have to wait till I got it perfectly. We'll be dead.
And can we? There must be stories about all these books.
Well, that's what I was saying. I don't know. Can you pass me that book? All the stories. It does have in here a commentary about what they all purify.
And I'm not a good visualizer, so I did extra research to try and figure out like what the mudras were, and I had a little prompt in my text, so I had like coloured down the side, so I'd go, oh, it's that Buddha family, and then when it changed to the next one.
Yeah, so even
It works for you.
even getting that, what Buddha family they belong to, and it's just, oh, so you're the lotus Buddhas, you know.
Yeah.
So you're the yellow Buddhas, which is wealth or increase, yellow increase, you know, so that we start to build some associations. And I'm just I'm trying to find the part where it actually talks about each one. There's okay, here.
So each of these ways that we're talking about here
Yeah.
is a way of making it more kind of solid.
Real, I
Real,
like to
yeah.
real to us.
Yeah.
So, for example, Guru Shakyamuni Buddha purifies 40,000 eons of negative karma. Some say it's 80,000. I'll go for that. Thoroughly destroying Vajra essence, 10,000 eons of negative karma, and so forth. The King Lord of the Nagas, 1,000 eons, purifies Naga harm. So Naga harm might manifest as skin disease, irritation, skin disease, whatever, rashes, things like that. So if I'm going to be if I've got those, I'm going to be focusing on King Lord of the Nagas, right? Could you just purify that, please? Yes, that's the blue body and white head. So you can think blue body, white head. It's King Lord of the Nagas, right? Army of no. So Army of Heroes, which is the next one, purifies negative karma created with the speech, especially gossip. So I've got a tendency towards gossip. I think, oh gosh, that's the one I need. So we can build up our associations with different ones that might resonate, or we read through this and go, that's the one I want. Yeah.
I feel like the Taras yesterday.
It's like the Taras, yeah. We did the association with each of the individual Taras and what particular associations they have. So, yeah, it's like that.
So if you know certain things about yourself in the difficulty,
yes,
you
can focus on
you
it.
can focus
Yeah.
on them.
It makes it more, as you say, solid or real. Makes it more real, because otherwise we're repeating and it's like,
Yeah.
Is this
doing
to-
some meat?
Yeah.
Doing
yeah, exactly.
Purifying.
Yeah, but you know,
And-
there's
and-
purifying and then there's purifying.
Well, and it's a process because there's all different ones of these practices. So these two, Vajrasattva and the prostrations, are said to purify all the sort of more manifest levels of our negativities, like we're actually saying and doing those things that we want to purify. So the analogy of the, you know, a dirty cloth, and if it's got dust on it, you just shake that out. That's like these ones, we're shaking it out. And then you get more subtle and more subtle, and you've got to have more and more scrubbing. And so then we have ones like Dorje Kadro, which is an offering. Dorje Kadro, it says like a fire offering to Dorje Kadro. Well, not a fire offering of our afflictions in the form of, ends up being sesame seeds. We make these little monsters out of sesame seeds, which is supposed to represent the ugliness of our afflictions. And then we feed, so-called, to Dorje Kadro. It's a ritual, like I noticed one of the centres is doing for the end of year. Oh, Chenrezig, I think. Yeah. Dorje Kadro, I saw that. And it is said, because the visualization that goes with that is an internal visualization about it's purifying more subtle levels. But I have to say, having done not enough Dorje Kadros, the thing that most got me was the sesame seeds keep sticking to you long after the practice, and you think you've purified everything, and you're going, look, there's still so many more afflictions to go. So I found that very powerful. I don't, you know, in some way it's like this love-hate relationship. I'm going to have sesame seeds everywhere.
It's a fantastic practice. There's
It's a great practice, though. It is a wonderful practice. Oh, okay. Shall we leave it there? Any other questions, comments? No, go, come on.
So there's, I mean, for me too, there's something about immensity,
Yes,
like stuff I don't even know. And from
yes,
lifetime, you know,
Yes.
like, it's just,
yeah.
I'm a little tip of that iceberg here.
I think we all are.
But it's like getting your head around,
Yeah. Well, I
for
find,
me, it's
Yeah.
like,
again,
okay, am I going to have to take all this on board? You know, like,
no, you take a
That's
little
what
bit,
it
a
is.
little bit, a little bit. You just take bits and build up, because I get what you mean, because it's overwhelming otherwise. It's just like, well, I can't do all of that. No, you can't. So just little bit, little bit, little
I
bit.
see the result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, like with your meditation, you see the result. You must see the result, otherwise you wouldn't keep coming back, And so you just sort of slowly, that gains meaning for you. It gains familiarity, because at the beginning we have no familiarity with any of this, and it's like, this is all weird. Unfamiliar, shall I say? Maybe I shouldn't say weird, unfamiliar. And so we're just like, oh, didn't think about it that way, and something clicks.
To me, it feels like it takes a while for us to see.
Absolutely.
The same as way as, rebirth and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Slowly. And that's the key, because slowly we'll continue. If we try and force it, that's already too much. We do, and then rejoice in what we do, because that's actually the most powerful practice we can do, rejoicing in what we do. And even we don't do it, somebody else does, like all those people doing, we can all rejoice in Yvonne having completed the Copan course, month long. Did you do any extra at the end? At the end? Yeah, but wow, we can all rejoice in what you've done. Especially like Nat's nodding, because she's been there, done that, and she knows what you've gone through.
And Ollie's done as well.
And Ollie's done. Sorry, you've had your hand up yet.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. That's on my agenda.
Good, excellent.
That's like.
Well, now post-COVID, it can be on your agenda. Yes.
A comment and question.
Great.
One comment was remind me of what we were talking about. When I first heard about this practice, it seemed very strange to me, and I thought, who are all these different Buddhas with different names? Like some of the names sound nice, but then some of them are a bit strange, like sandalwood and I don't know what that means. And then so there's a bit of reluctance to participate in the practice. But then after some thinking about it, like something that's recommended by
Yes.
Lama Zopa Rinpoche
Yes.
recommended.
Yes.
So based on that, gave me more encouragement to.
So it's having faith in the instructions of the Guru that this works. And when it works is that this is what great practitioners have discovered.
So just to start there, and then
great. Can I just comment on that before your next bit? Because Lama Zopa Rinpoche, so when we do this practice, it says Tathagata, at the beginning of each one, actually in Medicine Buddha, it says Bhagavan Tathagata.
I had to learn how to say that word.
So,
honestly.
So Tathagata, each Buddha's got Tathagata. Now that was added in by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. It wasn't there in the text beforehand. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche, this was one of his main practice. He did 100,000 to each of the 35 Buddhas over time. I don't know how much time it took. Well, it was in that 8-year retreat. So they were away, 8-year retreat and doing all these practices. And he couldn't. So of course he was a great scholar, a great practitioner. So he he could see Manjushri as a result, that his mind had been so clarified. As a result, he could see everything except for the head. When he added into Tapara, finally he could see the head. So how's that? You know, it's just like, okay, well, I'm nowhere near visualizing Manjushri directly, but seeing the head means you can communicate then. The mouth's there. All right, I should leave it there. Oh, no, there's another.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, go.
I'm not sure what your thoughts. Sometimes there's different visualization recommended. Like sometimes when we go down, it's going into the hell realm, and standing up is lifting up, people, and then other times it's visualizing, light coming in and purifying. So each day
You might focus on one aspect or the other. Yeah.
Feeling.
Yes.
You can only handle just doing prostration months, versus other.
Absolutely.
Is that
Perfect? Well, it's not perfect, but yeah, it's great. As long as it's not with, as much as possible, not with a distracted mind and not focusing on accumulating numbers. So that's very clear in Pabonka Rinpoche Liberation of Palm Your Hand, where, and this monk's talking to the other and says, how come you're taking so long to do your prostrations? I'm sort of finished. And it's like, because he was taking the time to mindfully do them. So as long as we're not focused on just an accumulation, that's very hard. And when we're thinking, I have to accumulate so many, but given that you're just introducing the practice, getting used to it and so forth, just allow yourself to do this bit or do that bit or do another bit. Maybe focus on initially maybe just focus on doing the actual mindful prostration, and then go, okay, maybe I'll incorporate a visualization of Shakyamuni Buddha, and then maybe I'll incorporate a little bit more, or maybe I'll focus on not bringing beings up from the hell realms, or maybe so we can play with it, make it creative.
I eased myself in as well. I tried different bits, and then I'm going, I'm having difficulty with that, and then I work on that. And so I'm trying to do bits of the practice every day, and then after a while it came together, and that's when I started counting them. Yeah, so it's a process. Yeah,
but you can start counting them from before it all comes together.
I didn't.
But I rejoice. Page 16. So thank you, everybody, for this year and beyond.
Thank you.
Through the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the precious body mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Then page 19, from my prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Page 23, long life prayer for Tenzin Oso, currently in Bendigo. He also made a trip to Chenrezig Institute and gave a talk on Thursday morning, which is now on their YouTube or online, if you're a Dharma talk, so very inspiring. Lord of Dharma, who in accordance with the various dispositions of those to be subdued, makes clear in the light of your well-spoken advice the sacred Ganden tradition, essence of Buddha's teachings, O foremost and holy Lama, to you, O our Supreme, O Lama, please live long. And then the swift return, pray for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. It'll be in this one or this one, whichever you have. On mine, page 5, sorry. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious one, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands. Please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request, while striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the soul gave way through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the oceans of the three jewels and the waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Okay, apologies we didn't get to have our cuppa sit around chat. If anybody wants to do that now, by all means, but I'm afraid I have to go off to another end of year engagement, which is a Sakya Dita, the Buddhist women's end of year picnic. Yes, so 6 p.m. ish down by the river, end of Coot Street. Yeah, yeah, we have our High River end of year picnic. I said yesterday BYL, and everyone said that means grog, and I said, well, never thought of that.
BYO nibbles.
Yes, bring to share. Yeah, bring a plate with something on it. A bowl with something on it.
Just your side.
People from other countries sometimes